a gap that was always closing. Isaac Phelps saw him coming and defended, but in my opinion fairly. Ginchard misjudged it, put himself on the grass and in my opinion caused the collision. Not catastrophic in terms of both their races. They both continued in that race. They both finished the race, granted lower than they would have expected. So therefore 3 places I think is probably fair. To be honest, a bit overzealous from Dan in my opinion. Didn't need to do that. He would have only lost, I think it was at 6 points in his 20-something point lead if he'd have finished behind Isaac Phelps in that race, which is probably where they would have been. They've been the fastest drivers this weekend, and it's allowed Ari Bansal to come back into the championship. And he's very much in there now, as you just saw in the championship standings.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting day actually, with Isaac Phelps starting on pole position, Dan Ginchard in 5th, and then Ari Bansal, the other elite motorsports driver in title contention, starting 7th. So this, in theory, should be a race that Isaac Phelps can use to get himself back into the mix. It's kind of like one of those ones that can flip-flop really easily.
Yeah, and let's not forget we've got 3 races today, including that reverse grid race carried over from Brands Hatch as well. So we've basically got 2 reverse grid races coming up today. We know they can always throw differing results in, they can always throw drama, and that final race of the season is going to be that one carried over from Brands Hatch, so a slightly different grid. Yeah, it's a lot to play for today. Very much looking forward to it. It's going to be very close, too tight to call.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit colder, I would say, today, early this morning, but less windy. Yesterday was incredibly windy with the storm we saw. Do you think that would have had an effect in Dan's driving yesterday in that incident?
No, I don't think the wind specifically played a factor in that incident. We saw it affect the GB3 cars a fair amount, and maybe some of the drivers in the race would have felt the balance change of their car as the wind was gusting. But no, downhill towards the crane, towards the old hairpin, Dan Ginchard, it was just, I think, a misjudgment, miscalculation, maybe a bit too much risk from him, from my opinion.
Well, excellent stuff. There we go. Ari Bansal, of course, closing that gap then to Dan Ginchard in the lead to just 5 points. And I sat down with Ari before the weekend to see how he was feeling ahead of a potential title in GB4. So the title was very much obtainable for you, and I know you're a very ambitious guy, so you're going to want this title more than anything, right?
Yes, for sure.
Now, you've had a very successful year so far, and that all started back here, the first race weekend at Donington Park, winning the second race. Do you feel that that gives you a bit of an edge? I know your teammate Isaac's also won here, but Dan Ginchard winning the championship coming into this weekend, he's not won around this track. He doesn't know what it feels like to stand on that podium here at Donington.
Yeah, I think for sure getting the win around Donington definitely gave me a lot of confidence, and also the pace that we've had in these practice sessions over the last 2 days has also amplified it. Yeah, I think for sure Ginchard's a very good racer. I think he can definitely do some overtakes. So for me, it's all about qualifying and start.
Yeah, start the weekend strong, get track position to start with, and then you can build on that. What's been your highlight coming into this race weekend? Because we've seen some epic racing in GB4 this year, brand new car for this year, which I know a lot of the drivers are loving. What's been your highlight so far?
I think the first round of this year, yeah, race 2. I think that was quite nice. Yeah, finished P1, and yeah, my second race of the season. So I think that helped a lot with confidence going into the next few rounds.
Let's look at the scenarios that could happen, because it could come down to you and Isaac fighting it out as teammates for the championship in the final race of the weekend, which is a tricky situation as you are driving for the same team. But I know drivers will all say that it's you first, and you know it's your championship to win or lose. If it does come down to that, we're going to see some fair racing, I'm sure. But how do you know you can get the edge on Isaac?
I think there's definitely a few things you can do and I can do, but yeah, I think I'll figure it out.
I can tell you've got confidence and you're just not trying to give it away too much, right?
Yeah, maybe.
You've got some ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, well look, we don't have to give away secrets. It's fine. It's all good. What's next for you then? Like whether you bag this championship or you finish in a highly commendable position?
I mean, more than likely we'll be doing Italian F4 next year, and hopefully I'm around the top there also.
That'd be awesome. I mean, you've driven quite a lot already at such a young age. You know, what kind of things have you come away from GB4 having learned the most, would you say?
I think GB4 for sure is like a bit more like aggression almost, because these are quite short races and around the like tight, narrow, and for me quite fun and fun tracks because they're challenging. I think that's what I've learned. I mean, if we do Italian, they do longer races and like a bit more abrasive stuff, abrasive tarmac. So I think for sure the aggression is there, but we need to like balance it out a bit with like smooth driving also.
It sounds to me like in the future you'll be really good at sprint races.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Good, there we go. Well, if he gets to sprint races, Ari's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's been great watching Ari and the rest of the title and all the drivers actually in GB4 racing this year. It all comes down to this, the Donington decider. Best of luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, just saying there with Ari Bansal that he's very good at shorter races and he's looking forward to maybe doing some longer races next year, as we just heard. I kind of joked about being good at sprint races. Obviously, we see sprint races in Formula One, and a lot of these young drivers are aiming at Formula One, and that is their goal. But obviously, we have other drivers like Leandro Juncos. Obviously, you know, his dad owns an IndyCar team, so that could be the path. And a lot of drivers wanting to get into GT cars as well. Isaac Phelps, we'll hear from a little bit later on, is hoping for a career in GT cars. So it's a fascinating kind of grid. We've had 11 winners, as we heard already, so far this year, and we're looking forward to how it plays out. 3 more races coming up today, which is, I don't know if it's the longest day we've had in GB4.
It's going to be a long one.
But it's going to be a long one. We've got a couple of races this morning and then one later this evening. So you've got a big old gap in the middle if you did want to maybe watch what's going on in Singapore this afternoon. We have GB3 coming up as well. I have to say, Piers, we've started earlier than usual and it's incredibly cold here. So how long is that going to take the drivers to get the tyres up to speed and in the right window to get any kind of performance out of them? Because I mean, it feels noticeably colder today, although the wind has dropped.
Yeah, it's less windy than yesterday, but I'd say at this stage, probably colder than it was. And also the tyres, no tyre warmers in GB4 at all. You have to have them at ambient temperature. And overnight it was, you know, getting towards freezing. So those tyres and wheels will be very, very cold. It'll take at least a few laps to get them into the proper operating window. Some of the drivers, in fact all drivers were on 4 brand new tyres yesterday. Some of the drivers will be using the same tyres they used last night because a used tyre gets up to temperature a bit easier, so they'll have an easier job of it on the first lap or 2, but then it will go away compared to a new tyre towards the end of the race. Some drivers will potentially have taken 2 new tyres in this race. Of course they've got a limited number of sets that they can use tactically throughout the weekend for their best opportunity, however they see fit.
Presumably there's a slight change to the tyres for the 4th race because we have 4 races as well.
Yeah. I think, and don't quote me on this, Lewis, I'm sure in the commentary box will keep us up
the
to date.
Oracle.
I'm pretty sure they've got an extra 2 tyres, so that means they get 2 full sets of slicks for this 4 race weekend, unless they're carrying them over from brands, but I need confirmation on that.
Excellent stuff. Okay, another driver just quickly to mention is Lucas Blakely. To have not driven a car, jumped in this new GB4 car, I mean, said it before, it's a seriously impressive feat, isn't it? Because he said he was rusty.
Yeah.
He came 3rd yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, if that's rusty, I can't wait to see what he does today.
Well, we know he's quick. I mentioned it yesterday. He was part of that KMR Sport car that was shared with Brandon McCacken that would have won the championship if they'd have been one person, but of course they weren't. So he did a part season last year, been out of the car for a year, came back, podium yesterday, been very quick in wet and dry conditions. But also, you know, let's not take anything away from his teammate Dayton Coulthard, who has been with us all season, but yesterday was by far his best performance as well.
It was indeed. I'm sure we'll catch up with him across the weekend. Isaac Phelps then is in 3rd place, but he starts pole position for this race. An 18-point gap between him and the top of the championship, so it's well within his grasp. I also caught up with him ahead of this weekend.
You come into this weekend 2nd in the championship. At the start of the weekend, you were 21 points behind Dan Ginchard, who was leading. What would winning this championship mean for you to start things off?
I think it would mean a lot. You know, I've won one championship before in Janata's in the Winter Series, and that meant a lot. But I want to do it on a full year championship, and that would be, you know, the best thing that can happen. You know.
How did you celebrate that first championship?
Just really enjoyed it. It was quite a bad weekend for it because it's a low atmosphere weekend.
Right.
So it didn't hit me as hard as winning this would be as well. So that's what kind of gives me the buzz to want to win it, because then I can feel it properly.
How would you celebrate this weekend? What would you do differently?
This weekend I would probably just, I don't know.
No plans?
I'd just be super happy, and like something might happen. Maybe we'd go out for dinner, but yeah, I've also got school in the morning. So
yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it?
So
that tells me that not only have you got school in the morning, but also you're really focused on actually getting the job done before you worry about how you celebrate, which I think is a good place to be. Now, you won the first race of the season here at Donington Park, so does that kind of thing in the back of your mind give you an advantage coming into this title fight?
Yes and no, because I mean I double poled it last time, which gives me the confidence that I have for pace. But then also it's changed so much. It's been a whole season, you know. Everyone's developed, everyone's learned, everyone's just got faster, and the pack is a lot tighter now than it was then. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this decider.
How's it been to be in a title fight with all of your teammates? Because that's kind of a rare situation for young drivers.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I've not had it before, but you know, I think it's a bit of a better thing, because then you have someone that you know isn't going to crash you, isn't going to try and do anything bad to you, I hope. But also, if they've got something on you, you can see it. You know, instantly you're there. But then also, they can see it if you're above them. So it goes both ways, doesn't it?
What's been your highlight then, regardless of what happens in the race for the championship? What's been your highlight of this GB4 season?
I think the brand's double. You know, top of practice, top of qualifying, top of both races, fastest lap record. It couldn't have got better. Shame we missed the third race, but you know, yeah, I think it really showed to everyone out of GB4, you know, me, and that's also just the main thing that really comes from this season. I've learned so much and developed a lot as a driver, and it's going to give me a lot of opportunities further in my life.
You must have been annoyed, given how well you're doing at Brands Hatch, to not have that extra race as well, because you know conditions are different here, everything's different here.
Annoyed, but it's not the end of the world, because it's one of the hardest tracks to overtake. So being able to do it here is probably a bit better, because it's a lot easier to overtake. There's a lot more opportunities. It's a lot wider. So yeah, I think it's fine.
Perfect. And finally, what's next? Do you have a plan of what you want to do next?
I feel like I'm going to try and venture into GT, you know, go down the factory route, the manufacturer, the GT racing. It's what I want to do. Single-seater was always going to be more of a learning year for me, because I wasn't able to race any GT championships due to my age. So, yeah, I've learned so much this year to take into everything next, and I think that route is just what lies for me.
Whatever happens this weekend, you've had an epic season and set yourself up really well for whatever is next. We'll wish you the best of luck for this season, this weekend. The season was all right for you, and hopefully we'll see you on that top step come the end of the weekend.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Isaac Phelps starting on pole position. We're going to hear from Piers about something about the tyres that he's noticed on Isaac Phelps' car in just a second. But as we can see here at Holly Mile, 18 years old today, her personal trainer Sasha Smith with the balloon there. Not going to be great for the aero. That luckily the balloon has been removed. I don't think it's allowed to have a balloon attached to a car as they go around, right?
I mean, not exactly conducive to good aerodynamic performance, is it?
No.
Yes. So I'll talk about the tyres. Interesting. We spoke about tyres just ahead of this little feature. Just had a confirmation. It is 6 sets of tyres for the weekend for the first 3 races, and then carryover tyres from Brands Hatch for that final race of the weekend.
So they'd be the same tyres that were used back at Brands?
As far as I'm aware, just spoken to the engineers at Douglas, and that's what their understanding is. Interesting changing or different tyre strategies at the front of the field. Isaac Phelps has got 2 new tyres on his right-hand side. Leon Wilson, who's starting second, 2 new tyres on his left-hand side. So they're choosing to bed those tyres in differently.
It's going to be fascinating to see how that one plays out. A little bit sunny now. This thing called the sun has arisen here over the... I think we actually narrowed it down as to whether we're in Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire or Derbyshire, but I think we're kind of in the middle of all 3. This is Donington Park, and let's just remind ourselves of this iconic track.
Donington Park returns to its rightful place as season finale in the GB4 Championship of 2025 as we ready ourselves for the Donington Decider. This the same circuit which saw the opening of the 2025 season back in April. Some great overtaking opportunities around here, particularly those at turn 1 at Redgate, at the bottom of the hill at the old hairpin before we rise up to McLean's and Coppice. The run down into the Fogarties is an overtaking opportunity, but the left-right being quite fast and treacherous. Run down into the Melbourne hairpin and the final corner at Goddard's, ideal for overtaking opportunities if you are brave, especially that down into the final corner as the circuit drops away. A lot of undulation around this 2.5 mile circuit, including that incredible drop down the Craner curves into the lowest point of the circuit at the old hairpin before rising back up the hill towards McLean's and Coppice, the highest point on the circuit. 35 metres of elevation all the way around and 12 turns of exciting racing around this Donington Park Grand Prix circuit.
Let's ride on board the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit with championship leader for hill speed Dan Ginchard in wet conditions as we might experience this weekend. Down towards Redgate, and the dry will be all the way over to the left-hand side. In the wet conditions, we stay off the rubbered line, a bit wide of the apex to gain some grip and straighten up the exit to get a good run down the Craner curves. We've got a car in front, but it doesn't hamper Dan on this lap. Completely flat out still in these wet conditions, using the downforce of the GB4 car only just flat down the corner curves and then braking down a couple of gears into the old hairpin. Very slippery at the apex, hence we just miss it in the middle of the corner and stay off the painted curbs on the exit. They can be very slippery in these wet conditions. Uphill now we travel through Schwantz, just about small lift through there to stay left as we open up for McLean's, missing the apex once again, deliberately so, to stay off the rubbered in line. It has less grip in these wet conditions. Coppice, you can go wide of the apex or shorten the line and cut through the normal racing line. That's what Dan does on this occasion, then cuts back to the right hand side to get a better run onto the exhibition straight. We're right up behind another driver here, and we can see how much the vision of the drivers is affected by the spray in these GB4 cars. Braking down to the very slippery entry of the Fogarty S's, gets close to the tyres on the left hand side as you can, use all of the curb on the right while staying within track limits. 2 more corners to go. We brake downhill in a moment's time. A main overtaking opportunity into the Melbourne hairpin, and we see Dan do that on this lap, getting up the inside, nipping the first apex, getting it stopped, and then a nice straight exit for good traction into what will be the final corner of the lap. Goddard. Uphill at this stage, but as soon as we turn in, the track goes downhill and off camber, so very tricky in these wet conditions, very little grip on offer. Missing the first apex and straightening up the exit for a good exit onto the start-finish straight, and a lap for the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in GB4.
So that is a lap around Donington Park. I've just been watching Holly Mile, watching the F1 Academy race, getting ready to kind of calming our nerves for this race. Megan Bruce, of course, not racing with KMR Sport this weekend. She's the wildcard entry, or one of the wildcard entries in the F1 Academy this weekend. And of course, Ava Dobson is trying to get 29 points to get that €50,000 prize that will go towards the season in F1 Academy. And she got some points yesterday, meaning, was it 7 points?
I think so.
There we go. So she's on her way. We've got 3 more races for her to achieve that. But let's go racing for the second time this weekend here at Donington Park.
It is finally the day where we will crown ourselves a champion. By the end of this Sunday, there will be a new champion in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and with just 3 races left to go, all 3 happening here on Championship Sunday. Isaac Phelps will be a little bit heartbroken by what happened yesterday after the contact between himself and Dan Ginchard down the old hairpin. And of course, he'll be starting this one from pole position. Harry Bansell closes up to within 5 points of the championship around this magnificent circuit. He did set the fastest lap yesterday to move himself forward and up into second position as well, as he was hunting down our race lead. Couldn't quite get it. It was a first victory for Dayton Coulthard. It is a great track for overtaking, a great track for racing based on what we saw yesterday. The headwind down into the opening corner at Redgate, the drop down the hill into the iconic old hairpin where we saw the contact between the top 2 in the championship, that run up the hill into McGlade where we saw contact for Alex O'Grady pushing him off into the Fogarty S, and of course the final 2 hairpins. If there was any doubt, by the way, Donington Park is in Leicestershire. If we turn around from where the camera is and we went about 100 metres forwards, then you'd be in Derbyshire. If there was any doubt. There's been an argument for the last 4 years, and we will keep going with it. Isaac Phelps, you can see there, leading his way from pole position. He did obviously close up a little bit in the championship yesterday, but not much, not to the degree that he would have expected after starting from pole position after contact between himself and that driver there, who's received a 3-place grid penalty after that contact yesterday. Was originally slated to be starting from the front row, but now will be starting from 5th. We'll take a look at the starting grid though, so we can update you with all of that. It'll be Isaac Phelps and Leon Wilson then starting from the front row of the grid for the first time this season. Then in 3rd position it'll be Leandro Juncos, who had contact with the driver he's starting alongside in that 2nd row of the grid with. Alex O'Grady, of course, from 4th, the 2 of them making contact into McLean's yesterday. Dan Ginchard dropping back to 5th position alongside Lucas Blakely, who had a podium yesterday and a fantastic drive up to it. Harry Bansell, driver who sits 2nd of the championship, championship from 7th position. Was able to finish in 2nd yesterday alongside Lewis Werrell on his debut weekend for KMR Sport. In 9th position it'll be Jason Pribble. Jack Taylor, who retired the opening race yesterday in the gravel trap, he'll be starting from 10th spot. Dayton Coulthard race winning yesterday from 11th, with Thomas Ingram Hill starting from 12th alongside for the Fortec Motorsports team. In 13th behind all of that is Stefan Bostantiev. Alex Katoulas still technically, mathematically in the championship hunt, as the number 10 has been off the road. That's Flamer Ricola. We'll come back to that in a moment. Luca Magnussen in 15th. Ava Dobson will be starting from 16th position on the grid, as we'll get to Enzo Holman and Josh McLean, who actually had some pretty impressive pace yesterday in the Pace Performance car. Then it's Dudley Ruddock and John O'Donnell in his debut for Pace Performance, down in 20th position. For the final 2 rows of the grid sees Holly Mile and Flamer Ricola, who we just saw off the road there for the Hill Speed team. And then, of course, it's Caitlin McDaniel and Lily Watkins, the final 2 drivers on the grid. In the commentary booth, there's myself, Lewis McGlade, it's Piers Pryor alongside. It is Championship Sunday, and if yesterday is anything to go by, we are in for absolute box office performances here.
I'm looking forward to this so much today, Lewis. I was looking forward to the championship battle yesterday, and it's even closer this morning after the drama on the first lap of the first race of this weekend yesterday. If you haven't watched that, stick around and watch this one first, and then go back and watch that race yesterday, because that's one of the best races we've had in GB4 history. Drama up and down the field, great stories, great racing, hoping for more of the same today. And we've already seen the likes of Flamer Ricola go off the road on cold tyres on the formation lap. I think the cold tyre is going to be a feature of this race. We saw yesterday drivers struggling for grip on the first lap yesterday. It was Jack Taylor. I just spoke to Joseph Loeb, Jack Taylor's driver coach. You know, he was just caught out. I think he got a little nudge, but a lot of drivers were caught out at turn 1 about how little grip they had, and it's even colder this morning.
Well, as they line themselves up, the championship standings for the top 4, those that are still within contention for the title: Dan Ginchard, 350 points. Ari Bansal, 345. Isaac Phelps, he's 18 off the lead on 332. And Alex Katoulas, still technically, mathematically within contention for the title. He's on 283 points, 67 off the championship lead. But I think by the end of this race here, he might well be eliminated from that title race, and it would just be the top 3 for the final 2, by the way, reverse grid races in the next 2 races. There's a last grid order set from qualifying this season, and the green flag is in the air. We are ready to go racing then on Championship Sunday with Isaac Phelps from pole position. He's got Leon Wilson alongside. A few rows back you'll see Dan Ginchard, who will be getting very aggressive on this opening lap. We begin racing down to the first corner with a better start from 2nd position. There was a poor start though from Lucas Blakely, I think it was, who's dropped back down the field as they work their way into the first corner. It was a poor start from Isaac Phelps though, who's worked his way down to the 3rd position. Straight around the outside comes Leandro Yunkos and Leon Wilson, who's taken over the race lead.
Little lock up from Phelps into turn 1, but gathers it up. Lost a couple of positions, and it's Leon Wilson who led the early part of yesterday's races. Leandro Yunkos has a look up the inside of the old hairpin. Remember, still cold tyres for all of these drivers. They've only had 1 formation lap to get them up to temperature. They will not be at full operating temperature as 2 championship challengers go side by side.
Harry Bansal going onto the left-hand side in the bright yellow, the red, black and white highlighted car there of Dan Ginchard. Been past. Harry Bansal has worked his way around the outside. Might will be marching his way up into the championship lead by the end of this race, as Alex O'Grady's attacking to try and take over 3rd position as well ahead of all of this. That there in the 62, that's Lucas Blakely. My apologies for the race start. It was Lewis Werrell who had the poor start. We're used to seeing Lucas Blakely in a KMR Sport car. He's driving for Douglas this weekend. A minute down and already plenty of position changes.
Harry Bansal's got some serious pace this opening lap as he goes round the outside of Alex O'Grady through the fog as he S's. Potentially a little contact there as a Fortec Motorsport car now goes side by side with the ADM of Jason Brooks. Double front lock up from Isaac Phelps, our championship leader.
No, the championship.
Sorry, yes, our championship challenger. Big double front lock up. We saw him lock up on the first corner. Now a double front lock up into the Melbourne hairpin. That will definitely put flat spots on his tyres.
And you pointing out on the in the assembly area, those left side tyres on his car were brand new going on. So that's going to be very difficult for him. Jack Taylor's been off the road in the background. He's going to rejoin, but obviously there's no grip out there. It's still very wet on the grass there. Thankfully his rear tyres are on the grass. Should be able to flick this one round and get back going again. But a difficult weekend. Here comes Ari Bansal though, the driver who sits 2nd in the championship, going toe to toe with Isaac Phelps as they work their way down the hill. Yes, they're teammates, but they are battling for the title. The 46 on the right-hand side is Harry Bansal, on the left it's Isaac Phelps, who just about manages to hang on to third position, and now championship leader Dan Ginchard is knocking at the door.
Wow, this is so close. This is genuinely the battle for the championship. Ginchard dropped away at the first lap, getting passed by Bansal here 1 lap ago. Now Bansal tries the same move around the outside of his teammate. Can't get it done. Bansal, whatever he was doing on the formation lap, he has got a lot of grip at this stage in the race, although he's now compromised. Ginchard having a look for the cutback.
Absolutely incredible racing. Alex O'Grady knocking at the door, knocked out of championship contention yesterday with contact between himself and Leandro Juncos. Leon Wilson's leading the race from Juncos, from Phelps, and then this battle here between Harry Bansal and Dan Ginchard for fourth. A little bit deep there for Harry Bansal. Ginchard might go for the up and under, working their way down into the hairpin, but it does seem as though Alex O'Grady might be the one knocking at the door and looking for the position.
Yeah, now Ginchard's the one who's defensive. O'Grady looking around the outside. He'll struggle to get around the outside of the Melbourne hairpin, especially of Daniel Ginchard. Dan Ginchard getting passed on the outside of McLean's by Harry Bansal. That's not something you see very often. There's now another look up the inside from O'Grady. Can't get it done this time. This is the battle between the drivers at 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
Yeah, charcoal grey and light blue there of Alex O'Grady, might be passed by the all light blue Douglas car there of Lucas Blakely. There was a big lock-up, I think, from Leandro Juncos into the opening corner. We saw that in the foreground shots, a lot of smoke being kicked up there. So a few drivers potentially struggling with the front brakes around this Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Yeah,
I'm expecting to see a bit of ebbing and flowing of pace on these first couple of laps with the differing tyre strategies that have been going on. We've had some drivers like Isaac Phelps take 2 new left-hand side tyres, which will give them the grip towards the middle and end of the race, but it'll take them a while to get up to temperature. That's why potentially Phelps made those couple of mistakes on the first lap. We've got drivers who haven't taken any new tyres, and we've also got drivers that have put those new tyres on the right-hand side, which is the less used side on this clockwise circuit. Is now number 8, Tom Ingram Hill, who's been very quick, just going slightly under the radar this weekend, but well inside the top 10, had a strong race yesterday. He's battling now and pushing onto the back of the driver ahead, which is Blakely.
Yeah, Lucas Blakely feeling that pressure in 7th position. But like you say, the ebbing and the flowing, perfect example there. Alex O'Grady was attacking Dan Ginchard, then he was defending from Lucas Blakely. Lucas Blakely was attacking, now he's defending. And that is how this circuit is working at the moment, as everyone's figuring out the temperature. Jason Pribble, massive lock-up on the front right. We're seeing the Melbourne hairpin causing its fair few problems here. Yeah,
Pribble was inside the top 5 yesterday before unfortunately having to DNF, and so he's hoping for a good result today, although he's been pushing hard. We saw that lock-up. Already also got a black and white flag for track limits, and we're only a few minutes into this race, so he's going to have to be careful. If he goes beyond track limits a number more times, he'll be expecting a penalty at the end of this race.
Stefan Stanchev also had a bit of a lock-up there into the final corner. This is Alex Catoulis defending from Jason Pribble. I think Catoulis might well, certainly with the positions that we've currently got in this race, he would be out of championship contention. It's a long shot anyway. He's a fair way off at the moment, 67 points off, but that'll be growing after this, so he would be removed from championship contention. But you know, that's always going to happen throughout the weekend. If you're that far off, it's going to happen at some point. You're not going to have that much of a magical weekend. Fastest lap from Isaac Phelps. Here comes a look down the inside as Dayton Coulthard, race winning yesterday, will make his move.
Yeah, Leon Wilson at the front of the field. He's going to be having deja vu. He was in this position pretty much exactly the same situation one day ago, but then was caught by the drivers behind. He's got a nice little gap. It was to Leandro Juncos, but Juncos now dropped behind Phelps. Phelps has managed to make that place, so I don't know whether Juncos has made a mistake or whether Phelps has got through. Yeah, I don't think they were that close, so maybe Juncos made a mistake earlier on this lap. We didn't see it on camera. Maybe we'll get a replay, but it looks like now he's going to be coming under pressure from the 46 of Bansal. Was defensive now. Goes Alex O'Grady with Blakely, and Catoulis defending also from Jason Pribble. Catoulis in that yellow car. Pribble in the grey with pink highlights.
Yeah, Juncos was 1.2 seconds clear of Phelps at the start of this lap. I know Phelps is fast, but I'm not sure he's going to be closing and then passing all on that. So I'd assume potentially running wide at the old hairpin. Few drivers were doing that yesterday, so I'd suspect that's where it's happened.
Yeah, Juncos nearly 2 seconds slower than the rest of the drivers in the middle sector, so either went off at the old hairpin or McLean's, I would suggest.
We're good at this.
Well, wait, we might be wrong.
Nah, we're never wrong.
Anyway, still in 3rd place is Juncos in that white with green highlighted car. He races for Hillspeed, teammates of that man there of Dan Ginchard. Different liveries, same team. Hillspeed giving them a brilliant car this year. They've been fighting at the front regularly. And they've been realistically the only team that have been able to challenge elite on most occasions. Although saying that, Leon Wilson this weekend for Arden Motorsport has been on a mission. Led the race yesterday, couldn't quite hold on to it. Leads the race again today, bit more of a buffer as we see battling now. Ingram Hill still all over the back of Lucas Blakely in the blue car.
Yeah, indeed, Blakely with that magical drive to the podium yesterday put on some great. There were some really good overtakes between the top grouping. And it was a brilliant drive from Blakely. You can see Katulis defending from Pribble, trying to send one down the inside of the Foggy S, outside the Foggy S rather. He's got him way too deep, gone straight over the curb, pushed off Katulis as well. But I'm not sure that one's going to stand.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be an absolutely outstanding move from Pribble around the outside of the Fogarty S's. That was very brave to attempt it. Just about went a bit too wide, and therefore, unfortunately, just ran over the curb, and Katulis was the one that was forced off the road there. I don't know whether the stewards will have a look at that one. I think it was potentially, I don't know, leaning on a racing incident, because Katulis tries to go around the outside. Have a look again. So actually, yeah, Pribble was ahead at this point. Just loses control, and then the car bottoms out. You can see it bouncing, and he's just trying to stay in control, and Katulis unfortunately had no choice but to take to the grass. Not really a deliberate act there from Jason Pribble. He was just trying to collect his own incident, and Katulis, innocent party there. So unfortunate for Katulis. That will definitely end his championship hopes. Although, as you mentioned earlier, Lewis, it was an outside mathematical chance as opposed to a realistic chance. It would have needed all three of the top three in the championship to basically have a couple of DNFs, and Katulis to have one of the best days he's had this year. As Isaac Phelps once again bangs in the fastest lap of the race, 7/10 of lap faster than Leon Wilson, our leader. We've got a race on.
Yeah, you said about people on a mission. You said Leon Wilson was on a mission. I think Isaac Phelps is on the biggest mission of all. After a tricky start to this race, he was able to hang on to third position despite that double front lockup. I'm sure that car is probably vibrating a fair amount courtesy of those flat spots on both front left and right, which is not going to be particularly comfortable around here. But hey, look, you're trying to get a victory here. That's the only focus right now, so you can forget about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose the only saving grace is that the big lockup was on the first lap when the tyres are still fairly cold and hard, so those grooves or those flat spots won't be quite as deep as they may otherwise have been. And we mentioned the tyre strategy. Phelps struggled on the first couple of laps with those new left-hand side tyres, the ones that get worked hardest on a clockwise circuit. But now he's got the pace. He's right under the rear wing of Leon Wilson. He's looking at potentially even to make a move this lap.
Isaac Phelps came into this round, into this weekend, second in the championship. A difficult race yesterday after contact between himself and Dan Ginchard pushed him down the order. Now this victory could push him back up properly into championship contention. It will just make things tighter and tighter and tighter at the front, which is always extremely exciting. 8 minutes and 20 seconds left to go though. Leon Wilson is a driver who knows how to win a race, has done this season in the third race at Snetterton. Knows how to defend as well, and so I'm sure he'll be doing all he can to keep Isaac Phelps behind.
Do you know what, Lewis? As neutrals here in the commentary box, if the race finishes like it does, all it does is bring the championship closer together. Phelps, currently sitting third in the championship, is the highest place of those three. Then Bansal sits second, is then directly ahead of Dan Ginchard. This is a championship decider that we all wanted. We're still seeing brilliant racing in this one. I'm keeping close eye on this battle at the front as Leon Wilson feels the need to go a bit defensive into the Melbourne hairpin, feeling the pressure. He's seen Phelps close that gap on the last few laps. Last time out, he was half a second quicker again. I don't think he's going to be that much quicker this lap because he's right underneath the rear wing of Phelps. Now as we see battling between O'Grady and Blakely still in the background, but we'll keep an eye on this top five for now.
Yeah, just getting word from race control. There is going to be a penalty for track limits, 5 seconds for quite a few drivers on this grid, including Ari Bansal in car 46. But there are quite a few in there as well. Alex O'Grady's in there, Jack Taylor's in there, the number 23 of Luca Magnussen's in there, as well as Lucas Blakely. So a lot of 5-second time penalties to be dished out.
Yeah, I'll just keep a note of those so that we can keep an eye on that at the end of the race, because the results at the end will be provisional. We'll see what makes of that. That's is exactly not what Ari Bansal needed with his championship challenger right behind him. That's going to hurt him dearly, especially considering how close the grid is and how, 5 seconds from where Bansal is in fourth place would take him down to about 9th or 10th as it stands.
But O'Grady and Blakely behind also have penalties, so it wouldn't be quite as bad. We'll say at the moment, the championship, if everything were to finish as it's currently running, yeah, it would be pretty close. 10 points now would separate the top 3. Obviously, if Isaac Phelps works his way through, it wouldn't be the championship lead, but he would be moving back into second in the championship and would sit a whopping 4 points behind Dan Ginchard heading into the final 2 races of this 2025 season. At this rate, we're going to be having a dead heat heading into the final race this afternoon. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Magnussen's making a move down the inside of Jason Pribble as Isaac Phelps is making a move for the race lead. He fires one down the inside on Liam Wilson, gets him offline coming through onto the Wheatcroft straight. Now he's going to attack going into Redgate, inside or outside. Defensive line being taken by the number 27 of Leon Wilson, and here comes Isaac Phelps to the outside in the bright yellow elite car. Is he going to go for the up and under here and maybe work something down the inside going down through the Craners?
Yeah, we saw yesterday Wilson tried to defend the cutback and wasn't able to do it, as we see now also Bansal going around the outside of Junkos. That is important, but only really in terms of time. If he can then gap Junkos, he'll then potentially lose less places to his penalty later in the race. Good move around the outside of the old hairpin. Now Dan Ginchard trying to get involved. Remember, these two, 77 in the white car and the red of Dan Ginchard, they are teammates.
Yeah, indeed. Here comes a look to the inside. Isaac Phelps with a big move, and he takes over the race lead. Isaac Phelps in the number 35 elite car takes over the race lead, returns to the front of the field. Disappointment yesterday, looking to take yet another victory this season, and it will be a second one at least here at Donington Park. Won the opening race of the 2025 campaign and looking to win right at the important time here on Championship Sunday.
Yeah, and also Dan Ginchard will be able to see that. He'll see that a few cars up ahead, seeing the elite cars working their way towards the front, and he'll be wanting to get a piece of that. He knows that every car between those two is points lost. Now Leon Wilson looking back to the inside. So close down there. Another penalty for Bansal. Bansal's going to be falling well down the order now, so he needs to stay within track limits, otherwise he's just going to be falling further and further back. He might not, well, he should know this because he'll be having that information given to him over the start-finish line. Outside, he looks at the last corner. That's going to allow Junkos to get involved and try and make a move on the outside of Redgate.
It had been such a brilliant drive from Ari Bansal up until this point, but a 10-second time penalty is going to really push him down the order, I'm afraid, all for track limit excursions. And now he's going to be defending from Junkos as they work their way through the Craners. Can Dan Ginchard come through? I think he'll be thinking long, big picture here, thinking about the championship game. He really kind of has to, at least in this race, for now. Maybe do some work in those 2 reverse grid races that we've got coming up later on, as Ari Bansal out a little bit wide going through the old hairpin. This could allow Junkos through by the time they get to McLean's.
I don't know. When Jon has caught up with Ari Bansal in that chat they sat down yesterday, I don't know whether Jon has asked Ari, are you going to be helping your teammate Isaac if he's in the battle for the championship? And Ari was cagey and said he's got a plan. Wonder what that plan was. He never really alluded to it. Maybe it was a selfish plan, or maybe he was thinking, if I can help him, I will. Because at this stage, if Bansal does know he's got that time penalty, if he holds up the 2 hill speed cars behind him, that's helping his teammate Bansal Phelps up ahead.
Yeah, here comes Dan Ginchard to try and get through, but this is getting a bit awkward here. O'Grady and Thomas Ingram Hill and Lucas Blakely are all closing their way in. Dan Ginchard with a big send to the inside as he's going through. What a move from Ginchard. He can get through on his teammate Leandro Junkos. It was almost a double working their way through at the Melbourne hairpin. 3 minutes left to go. From this point in the race, with the lap times they're setting, it will be 2 final laps left to go in this race, as O'Grady is now throwing himself into the mix.
Wow, that was a brave move from Ginchard up the inside of both of them, but unfortunately just washing a bit wide allowed Bansal to cut back and keep that position, although Ginchard, that's helping him in his championship hunt. He's 1 place higher, past his teammate of Junkos. Junkos is now defending from Alex O'Grady in the grey number 3 KMR Sport car behind. The front 2 are checking out. Phelps still fastest man on circuit, although the sector 1, that time by Wilson, was slightly quicker. Gap is 8 tenths at the front of the field. I think Phelps probably just managing the gap at this stage.
I am a little bit confused here because I'm looking at our live timing and it is telling me that Dan Ginchard has a 5-second time penalty, but there's no note from race control saying that he has one. So I'm not 100% sure as to why he's highlighted or where that has come from, but there is potential that maybe Ginchard also might have a 5-second post-race time penalty. This could be doing wonders for Isaac Phelps' championship, but I'll hold fire on that one for now until I've got official confirmation from race control.
Yeah, 10-second penalty for car 50 as well. That's Jack Taylor, who unfortunately was rotating on the first lap. He's had 2 terrible first laps this weekend. In the gravel yesterday, spun this morning, and now Ginchard looking to try and get past Bansal. Don't forget those 2 are battling for the championship. They may not end up actually together on the results if the penalties that we've been given are correct. 10 seconds we know confirmed for Bansal, 5 seconds provisional for Dan Ginchard. We think they're both for track limits, and now Ginchard has got an overlap round the outside. He's going to look round the outside of Redgate. We've seen a few moves being made there this weekend. Can Dan Ginchard pull another one off?
Yeah, he's going to look to the outside of Bansal, might go for the up and under here on the run down into Hollywood, and then the crane of curves. The thing is, if I'm race control, if I'm the race engineering team there of Dan Ginchard, I probably wouldn't inform of it until I've actually seen it properly come through from race control, because it could be a weird bug on timing. You don't know, and right now you just have to kind of sit there and let your driver do the work. Problem is, he's losing a lot of time here. He's off the road. He's dropped 2 wheels into the grass. He's going to lose a couple of positions in all of that, though. He's going to gain the one back potentially from Bansal, and maybe even from O'Grady as well with post-race time penalties. But what a moment there.
Yeah, that was a good exit out of the old hairpin from Dan Ginchard, trying to get the cut back. Bansal seeing him coming and cutting across. It's a little bit late for my liking, as Tom Ingram Hill in there also has a 5-second penalty for track limits. But yeah, cut across a bit late for my liking there, did Bansal, trying to stop Ginchard getting alongside, and the front nose cone of Ginchard just getting pushed wide by Bansal, and Ginchard did well to collect that. 2 wheels on the wet grass. He could easily have had a one-way ticket to the barrier there.
12 seconds left to go in the race. We'll be seeing the checkered flag soon in what has been a very dramatic, once again, a dramatic race here in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. For Isaac Phelps, he's kept out of the most part of the drama. He had a little bit in the opening stages, but has bounced back brilliantly to take his 5th victory of 2025. An unbelievable drive that could see him, dependent on penalties, maybe even taking over the championship lead. We're going to get the update, though, as I think Phelps actually got a penalty post-race, and it's gone the way of Leon Wilson. Leon Wilson has won for the 2nd time in GB4. This is chaos on the timesheets.
Car 35 on the last lap, 5-second penalty, track limits. That puts the win away from Phelps and gives it to Leon Wilson. Drama up and down the field. Track limits playing a big part of that race. We still haven't had official confirmation on car 49 yet, which is Dan Ginchard. That's going to play, yeah, not sure about that, but yes, I mean, drama, track limits. It shows you how important it is to stay within the white lines, because that's played a big part in the final classification of that race. Leon Wilson, yesterday led the race, couldn't quite hold on. Today led the race, couldn't quite hold on. As far as we're aware, he's the winner.
Jason Pribble as well, 4th place, once again showing some excellent speed. After the disappointment of yesterday with the retirement from 5th, once again a great showing.
Yeah, really strong this weekend from Jason Pribble and the ADM team, but he was the one that got the first black and white flag for track limits on lap 1 or 2. So clearly thought, you know what, I'm very much going to stay in the white lines. And as far as we're aware, isn't looking to receive a penalty. So great driving from Pribble to stay within the track limits after his early warnings, because that's the price you pay. Over the right lines too many times, penalties come your way.
Wow. The top 2 in the championship now, separated by a mammoth 4 points. It would be Dan Ginchard still 365 points after dropping back to 7th position, again provisional on that one. Isaac Phelps would be on 361, and Ari Bansal would be on 352. Catullus would be ruled out of championship contention, but of course all of that is very provisional. We need to take a look at that. Disappointment for Bansal, though, down in 14th position.
Yeah, that's how much 10 seconds can put you down the order, considering how close the field is. And a reminder, 35 points for a win in this one, and we're looking at 20 points plus bonus points for positions gained in the remaining 2 races this weekend. So 7 points really is nothing.
Yeah, don't worry, I've got my the spreadsheet will be working overtime in the next 2 races to make sure that we've got all the points coming to you. Out of the car comes Leon Wilson. A surprise victory after all of that. It is his 2nd victory of the season, the 3rd consecutive top 5 as well. Straight over to Nicholas Taylor, who I know those two are good friends of course, with the likes of Dan Hickey as well. I know obviously Nicholas Taylor, the 2022 champion, he won the championship around here. Does all the photographs and stuff for various drivers. I think Leon is one of them. There is Isaac Phelps. Wonder what his post-race reaction is going to be as he runs straight over to the team. But what actually happens there? So Eddie Ives is the one who's waiting to have that conversation, and like I say, a little bit of a debrief. I think, look, take the positives from it. You're 4 points off the championship lead, and there's 2 races left to go. So we build on that. Leandro Juncos, after the drama with Alex O'Grady yesterday, great drive as well, onto the podium. Still waiting for that elusive first victory. It's not quite there for him in this race, but maybe it is coming in the final 2 this season. Because, I mean, look, 12 different winners this season would be a pretty incredible feat. And with 2 reverse grid races to deal with, there's some great opportunities. There is Eddie Ives on the right-hand side. You've got Isaac Phelps having the conversation, basically being like, what happened there on track limits? Because, of course, Phelps was under a lot of pressure there from Wilson. Gets given his podium hat before he comes and has a little chat with Jon Jackson. I'm sure he'd rather have a chat with Eddie Ives, but that's fine. You got your obligations to deal with, and unfortunately, Jon Jackson is a part of that obligation. For Leon Wilson, there won't be any, unfortunately, a part of that. There's the handshake between Wilson and Isaac Phelps. Let's jump down though to Jon Jackson.
You love chatting to me, Lewis. Anyway, I mean, that was a bit of a surprise victory for you there, but I mean, a great drive from you. You put yourself in the mix and you benefited from those track limits penalties which affected Isaac Phelps.
Yeah, I also got one towards the end. I got a warning towards the end, but I saw Phelps keep going off, so I thought I wasn't going to get too close and just sit in the wash. So I dropped back a little bit, kept my head. So all I had to do on the start was get in front of them. So I did that, and then all I was trying to do just keep my head forward, and we did that until Phelps caught up, he had some better pace than us in that mid bit. So, but it was a bit of a shame. So, but good to take away P1.
You're not going to complain about another win. Noticing that he was kind of, you got that warning, but noticing that he was continuing to go wide was a very smart move from you, given that quite a few drivers got penalties there, which have affected their races.
Yeah, well, if you see people in front going really far onto the green, you can't get right up behind them. So you're just going to get right in the wash, and then you're going to do the same. So we played it smart, and we came out of the win. So I'm really happy.
A couple more races to come today as well, and you've shown what you can do already, so you must be really confident going into those 2.
Yeah, really confident. Hope we can get a few more podiums. Starting quite far back on the reverse grid, but then for race 3 for Brands Hatch, we're starting in 6th, I think. So we've got some good chance to move forward.
Still plenty of work to be done.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations, Liam Wilson there again on the podium. Let's go and chat to Isaac Phelps now. He's chatting away with, I think that's his dad. Isaac, we got a chat. I don't know if we need to go closer to your car or not. And I know you're going to be disappointed that you didn't get another race win. However, with Dan Ginchard also getting a penalty and your teammate Ari Mansell finishing, I think, down in 14th in the end, great for you in the championship.
Yeah, it couldn't have gone better in that respect. But I mean, I want to win, and I think it was maybe a bit unfairly taken, but we'll see. It's not over yet, I'd say, but at the end of the day, still an amazing result considering the start I had. I've showed them who I am. I won the race on the road and drove a great race, so that's what matters to me. And then, to have them down there, it's just perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's worked out really well for you. 2 more races to come as well, and obviously you're feeling good out there, so you must be pretty confident.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting last couple of races. I don't know what the points difference is, but I think it's going to be super close, isn't it? It'll be a great watch.
Yeah, it'll all get worked out and we'll talk about it soon, but congratulations on another podium. We'll let you get your trophy.
Thank you.
There we go, Isaac Phelps, and we'll just have a quick word with Leandro Juncos. I'm going around in circles. Oh, he's all the way over here. Follow me, Andy. I can't get in the photo, so I think I'll get told off. Oh, I'm just going to do it. It doesn't matter. Let's go. I got to go. Right, let's go to Leandro Juncos. Leandro, congratulations on another podium. How was it out there? It's a very cold morning.
Yeah, tricky conditions. It was a shame because I think when we were P2, I think we were catching Wilson quite a bit, and then it just got cut off by the wind. An old hairpin just went into the apex like every other lap and missed it by 3 car lengths. So it's a shame because I think we had the pace to win, but podium is still good for us.
Is the wind a little bit less of a problem today than it was yesterday? It felt crazy yesterday.
I think it's the same. I think yesterday was just really cold, and we were almost racing at night. Now the conditions are better, so it's easier to get the temp in the tire, but I think the wind is still tricky. I mean, you get to the chicane and sometimes it's easy, sometimes you're loose, so it's pretty unpredictable, but yeah, the car was really good. The team did a great job and happy to get a podium.
Excellent. 2 more opportunities as well, so we'll wish you luck and we'll let you go and get your trophy.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Excellent stuff. Leandro Juncos there as we go to the podium with Lewis McGlade.
Thank you very much.
Wow, yes, certainly so. What a race! What excitement! What drama! It was a fun one. Let's go with that, of course. And again, that victory there kind of sums it up for Leon Wilson. A few other really good drives up and down the field. Did note Thomas Ingram Hill is now on I think it's 11 consecutive top 10 finishes, which is always very impressive. Again, moving their way forward on the grid. Not quite right. The podium in this one, of course, does have a podium this season at the first race at Silverstone, but a few drivers to take a look at and all that. Of course, most notably was 8. I'm counting it at the moment as 8 drivers with penalties for exceeding track limits. So I know, obviously, Isaac Phelps won't be too happy about that, but again, he is 4 points now off of the championship lead. Dan Ginchard will be holding it heading into the final 2 races of the season, but can he hold it going into the last one? The problem for Isaac Phelps is that now he's going to be starting in, comparatively, I think, to all of his championship rivals, the worst positions that he can be starting in, because for the next race he'll be starting in 12th, and for the race afterwards, guess what? Yep, he's going to be starting in 12th place. Dan Ginchard, by my calculations, will be starting in 10th in the next race, and then in 11th in the race after. Ari Bansal, I believe, will be starting in 11th place, and then we'll be starting in quite a decent, I think, 4th in the final race. Sorry, it might be the other way around on that. We'll update you with the grids as the weekend unfolds. Leandro Juncos on the right-hand side there. Onto the second step of the podium, it is Isaac Phelps, now second in the championship. And for the second time this season, after that brilliant victory in Snetterton, it is Leon Wilson back to the top step of the podium. A brilliant drive, and nice to see that we can get out onto the proper podium here today. Yes, for Leon Wilson, it is a great result. We spend a lot of time talking about those high up in the championship, those battling for the title. Leon Wilson, though, can take over 5th position in the championship. Currently sits in 8th position on 240 points. It's 243 for Thomas Ingram Hill, 48 for Leandro Juncos, and 49 for Alex O'Grady. So those 4 separated by 9 points in the fight for 5th in the title. So Leon Wilson there in the middle of your screen and Leandro Juncos on the right are involved with O'Grady and Ingram Hill in that fight for the top 5 in the championship, which is always very helpful indeed when it comes to pursuing careers after this point. We'll head though straight over into highlights from the race. Highlights from round 19 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Lewis Werrell with a poor start from the mid-pack, but a great one for Leon Wilson to take over the race lead into the opening corner. Isaac Phelps getting caught out somewhat, and straight around the outside would go Wilson and Juncos as well. Ari Bansal with a great start was getting aggressive in the opening stage of the races to try and find his way past basically the entire field, and Dan Ginchard as well, his championship rival, the top 2 in the title race, going side by side. Bansal around the outside, but potentially exceeding track limits in doing so. Big double lock-up coming in for Isaac Phelps as he would go straight on going into the Melbourne hairpin. He'd be able to recover himself ahead of his teammate Ari Bansal, but the drama was only building. Thankfully, he'd settle himself into the race and would start working his way forward. Contact, I believe, between the teammates that would see Jack Taylor going for a spin at the final corner, be able to rejoin, but again, right towards the rear end of the field. The battling was happening up and down the order. A couple of drivers going off the road, including Dayton Coulthard, who was off, the race winner yesterday. Jason Pribble also with a lot of pressure coming onto his shoulders from Alex Catoulis, had this mistake going through the Fogarty S, and then a fair amount of drama further back. Lily Watkins way off the road going through the old hairpin, was able to rejoin the circuit though after dropping down to the rear end of the field. Track limit excursions was the main talking point of the day. A lot of drivers coming a cropper of the track limit violations and receiving penalties courtesy of it. Jack Taylor will be one of those, would also go wide and lose his front wing in courtesy of that moment. Dan Ginchard was getting aggressive as well with his move down the inside of Ari Bansal and Leandro Juncos. That one wouldn't quite work out in favour of Bansal, who would work his way straight back through. And then there was the attack for the race lead. Leon Wilson feeling the pressure from the likes of Isaac Phelps. Ari Bansal also working his way through on Leandro Juncos. And then there was this move as they'd work up the hill into McLean's. Down the inside goes Isaac Phelps. Leon Wilson dropped back into second position. Isaac Phelps would work his way up into the race lead and would start to check out, but would he be able to hold it? Unfortunately, he'd be receiving a post-race time penalty for exceeding track limits, a retirement late on, I believe, for Dayton Coulthard. Another couple of drivers feeling the pressure. There was this contact between Dan Ginchard and Ari Bansal late on in the race that would cost Ginchard a few positions. Isaac Phelps would come through the final corner victorious, however it would be stripped away from him, and Leon Wilson would win for the second time in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. A brilliant drive from the Arden driver. Will he be able to hang on? We'll take a look at the provisional race, or provisional standings rather, of course, after the race. It's Dan Ginchard who would be topping the standings, of course, 4 points clear of Isaac Phelps. Ari Bansal then in third position with Alex Catoulas, and then Alex O'Grady. That tight fight for fifth position, O'Grady, Junkos, Ingram Hill and Wilson in fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth, separated by just 9 points. Enzo Holman a little way from that, and Jack Taylor on 219 points has shown flashes of some very good speed, including around here. Can he build on that in the final 2 races of the season? But the main talking point is that at the top of the standings, Catoulas no longer a part of the championship hunt, at least provisionally. It is going to be between Ginchard, Phelps and Bansal, we believe, those 3 into the final race. Let's take a look at the provisional race results. Of course, it'll be Leon Wilson victorious ahead of Isaac Phelps, who received a post-race time penalty. Junkos there in third position, with then Pribble in fourth. O'Grady, Ingram Hill and Ginchard all receiving post-race time penalties, but not dropping down too far in the standings. 5th, 6th and 7th for them. Lucas Blakely in 8th. Bastantiev and Ava Dobson in 10th. Really important when it comes to her position against Megan Bruce. We'll talk about that as the weekend unfolds, but there is potential that she might take over that spot away from Megan Bruce. Catoulas in 11th position, Lewis Werrell in 12th, then Magnussen and Bansal all the way down in 14th position. Unfortunate for the driver who now sits third in the championship. Dayton Coulthard winner yesterday in 15th, then McLean in 16th. Then Ruddock, Auricula, Mile and O'Donnell, the top 20, with the final 4 drivers seeing McDaniel, Holman, then we've got Watkins and Taylor dropping down a couple of laps. We'll head down into the paddock area where Piers Pryor is catching up with Dan Ginchard, our championship leader.
Down here with championship leader, just about, Dan Ginchard. Dan, you were right in the thick of the action that race. Lewis and I were loving that one with all 3 of our championship contenders right together. Unfortunately, a 5-second penalty for yourself. We're not exactly sure what it was for yet, but puts you down to 7th. Could be worse.
Yeah, definitely could be worse. I mean, Bansal was definitely worse off. He got, I think, 2 penalties worth. Bit of a shame, contact with him. It wasn't my fault at all, and that just lost me some positions. Otherwise we could have finished a couple of places in front, because so many people got penalties that, you know, we all sort of dropped down together. Yeah. So a bit of a shame that happened on the last lap, because the pace was really strong. You know, I was hounding him constantly, but it's just one of them things. We're still leading. The reverse grid, anything can happen, and they're the ones I normally thrive in anyway.
Yeah, well, you said you've got a reverse grid. We've got 2 reverse grids coming up, so with us, was it a 4 or 5 point gap or something sillily small like that? I suppose, what's your outlook going into those final 2 reverse grids of this year, because it's literally all to play for?
Yeah, it's all to play for, but you've still got to keep the wheels on it. Don't do anything stupid. Obviously, when an opportunity presents itself, you've got to go for it, especially we're all starting very close to each other in the races. Harry's a bit further in front in the first reverse, but he can't score as many points overtaking. So it's all going to come down to that, I think, and it's definitely going to be nail-biting.
You know you've got the pace, so we'll look forward to that. Dan, we'll let you go and cool off and get ready for the final 2 races of the season. I'll bring John in for a quick wrap for what has been...
Sorry, Piers, I'm just hearing you're getting a penalty. Sorry, everyone else got one. So it's only fair that Piers gets a 5-second time penalty. You'll be serving that after the broadcast. Thank you very much, Piers. We've got to go because there's GB3 coming up. Jason Pribble will start on pole position for the next GB4 race, which is coming up straight after the GB3 race. So it's kind of back to back to back. So you've got a full morning of entertainment, and we'll catch up with him before that race as well. And of course, we've got another race in GB4, the one that should have happened at Brands Hatch, much later today. So a huge day of racing at Brands Hatch. Coming up next, though, stay where you are or switch over to the GB3 feed, because we have the second race of the weekend in the GB3 Championship here at Donington Park.